Hey, I'm Evan from RaceTech Electric. We're here in our new shop, and we're going to go ahead and show you how to install our new Koso kit. This is a Ninja 250. This is a 08 in particular. We carry the Koso RX-2 plug-and-play kit for the Ninja 250s. It's a really nice upgrade for your stock Ninja gauge. The dash on these is not really too hot. It looks kind of old for these nice full fairing sport bike Ninja 250s. So the Koso RX-2 kit is a really nice upgrade. Gives you a great analog tack and then a nice digital screen. Looks great, gives you tons of features, and it's really simple to install with the Koso plug-and-play kit. So here's our bike we're going to start on. You can see it's a bone stock Ninja. It's got some LED turn signals on it, but nothing too crazy. And a totally stock dash on it. So come over here, I'll show you the gauge we're going to be installing. So here's the Koso RX-2 kit. Really nice gauge. It's got digital screen, digital readout, and a full analog tack, which is really nice. Buttons on the front so you can change your settings really easily and select the different modes. You have a shift light. Really nice setup. The Koso plug-and-play kit comes with the backboard that is a direct replacement for your stock Ninja gauge, so there's no gaps or anything. You don't have to worry about mounting brackets. Really easy to install, and it looks really nice. So here's all the parts that come with it. This is both the what you get with the RX-2 kit, the stock RX-2 gauge, and then also the Ninja plug-and-play kit. So we've got our coolant temp here, oil temp sensor, plug-and-play harness. You got your connectors for the different sensors, the speed cable. This is the universal bracket. We're not going to be using that. But the kit comes with everything you need. It's really easy to install. So this is everything we got, and we're going to get started on this bike. So first things first, get your fairings off, and you can look all over just about any video on YouTube. We'll show you how to get the fairings off of these, but just a couple bolts and little pins around the sides, real easy to get off. Go ahead and get your fairings off, and then we're going to go ahead and remove the dash, and then we'll start showing you what to do. Now that we got the fairings off, step one, or side fairing, step one is to get the nose fairing off. So pretty simple. You got to remove, these are all Allen head bolts. You need to remove, there's one on each side right here on the side brace. So we're going to pull that out. Same one on the opposite side. I've already got all these loose, so I'm just going to pull the bolts out. I'm going to pull those. There is little plastic clips on either side, here and here. So these are pretty simple. If you look up under there, you'll see them. They're a little circle with a smaller piece in the middle. To get them out, you just use a screwdriver or your Allen wrench, whatever, and you just push them in, and you'll hear it click as it pops in. Then you can actually just pull it straight out of the plastic, and that's it. So when you put them back in, they're real simple. All you have to do is pull the center pin out, and you'll slide them in, and then push the center pin in until it snaps to seat it. Real simple. So then you need to remove 2 Allen bolts on either side here. These attach to the fairing support brace underneath. Pull those out. Then you just pop the front fairing off. So once that's loose, we're going to completely remove this, so all I'm going to do is unplug the headlights up front, and then we'll just pull the fairing off. Alright, now that we got the front fairing off, we need to get the old gauge cluster off. So to do that, we need to go ahead and pull the speedo cable right here, and it's got a threaded collar. Just undo that, pop it right out the bottom, set that out of the way. Then you need to undo 3 bolts. You got one there, there, and there. They're all 8 millimeters. I've already loosened them. I'm going to go ahead and pull them out. You can get to them with a ratchet socket set on either side, and you'll probably need a wrench to get to the top one. Tight fit up at the top. So now that those are out, you need to undo the wire tie right here. And you can do that with a sharp pointed small screwdriver or a pin or something and undo that. Slide that out of the way and then undo both of the connectors here. You got a 9-pin and a 3-pin. Undo both of those, just lift the clips, pull them out, push the wires back through, and pull the old gauge cluster back out. Go ahead and set that on the bench. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get the Koso ready for mounting. You want to take your new Koso backing plate, and you'll have 3 rubber grommets that came with the gauge, and you want to go ahead and press those in. Real simple, you just push them through so they stick on either side. You're going to take your gauge, line up all the holes, press it in. Okay, and then you're going to use your mounting hardware from Koso to mount the gauge to the backing plate. And then you're going to use the original mounting hardware off the Ninja to secure the gauge in place on the bike. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up and we'll get this on the bike. Our gauge mounted to the backing plate. We're going to go ahead and install it on the bike. Really simple, just line it up with the 3 rubber grommets, and you line up the brass plugs and slide it right into place. Couldn't be easier. Now we're going to use the original mounting bolts, 3 8mm bolts, and go ahead and thread them in from the back side and we'll tighten it up. Then we got the gauge mounted and we can start doing the wiring and hooking up all the sensors. Now we're going to install the wiring harness from the plug-and-play kit. So you'll notice you have 2 harnesses now that look similar. One is the universal harness that comes with the Koso gauge. The other one comes with your plug-and-play kit. So you can tell which one is your plug-and-play harness because it will have the Koso connector here, this little flat one, and then it'll have the 2 Ninja harness connectors, a 9-pin and a 3-pin. So it's pretty obvious which is which. The universal one that comes with your gauge just has a bunch of blank wire ends. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and install it, plug in the gauge end, so slide the rubber grommet back a little bit, and it's keyed so you can only plug it in one way. You'll hear it click when it connects. So you got that in, then go ahead and slide the rubber guard up and over the connector to make it waterproof. So we got that done. And now let's go ahead and route it along the way the original wiring harness did. Go up behind the fairing stay right here. Run all the wires through. Just like that. And put them in line with the little wire tie just like the original was. And for the moment, let's just plug in the 2 Ninja harness connectors. So the 9-pin connectors are keyed. They can only go in one way. Line it up, push it in. Line up the other one, push it in. So that's the main wiring harness connection. Now, next step is we want to get the power hooked up so we can make sure everything's functioning and the gauge works fine. So this red wire right here with the male bullet on it, your plug-and-play kit will come with a long piece of red wire with a mating female bullet, goes on there. And then the other end has a ring terminal. This needs to go back to the positive terminal on your battery. So that's what we're going to do now, is run this wire back to the battery. We'll show you when that's finished. To get to your battery, you need to pull the seat, and to pull the seat, you got to pull these plastic trim covers. So on each side, you got a single Allen head bolt. Go ahead and remove that. Just pop it straight out. And then you'll have the same size bolt right here attaching the seat to the frame. Undo that, pull it out, and do the same thing on the other side, and you can lift the seats right off. We have both bolts out. To remove the seat, just push back a little bit to undo the latches, lift up, and off. The seat's removed. We need to pull the cover on the battery so we can get to the positive terminal. Now you just have a single Phillips head bolt right there. Go ahead and undo that. Now lift up on the cover a little bit. You need to undo these latches here and here. So if you lift up and then pull back a little bit, they should pop right out. Then you can shift this over out of the way. Here's our positive terminal. So we're going to go ahead and put the ring terminal from our red wire from the Koso kit on the red positive battery terminal. And we're just going to route it up along the frame here. Just kind of stand underneath the tank, following some existing wires. We'll run it straight back up to the wire. Okay, so now we have our power wire connected. We attached it to the battery terminal here. We put our battery cover back on. So to show you where I routed it, I just went right down under here, followed the wiring harness. You can see the red wire going all the way across here. You know, just use the existing route for that other wires take, and it's real simple to do. So we route it all the way up there, up to the front. Now, plug this in to the red wire on the Koso harness. Okay, so now we got that plugged in. And that provides your constant power feed for the Koso gauge. So now we can go ahead and turn it on to make sure it comes on and everything works. Go ahead and flip the key. Perfect. Comes right on. We'll go ahead and start the bike real quick and just check the other functions. So, here we are idling. We can see that the tach works. You can see that our high beam indicator works. You can see that our turn signal indicator works. And we'll go ahead and put it in gear. You can see that our neutral indicator works just fine. So that's great. Now let's go ahead and get the speedometer sensor plugged in. Very simple with this Ninja 250 kit. Koso includes a speedometer adapter, and this guy right here plugs straight in to your speedometer drive cable. And you just line it up, just twist it till it lines up correctly, slide it over the inner cable, and then thread the collar onto the Koso adapter. Now thread that in tight. And then this plug is 3 pins, and there's only one other plug on the wiring harness that's 3 pins, so it's pretty obvious which is which. And you'll see it's got a notch on one side that fits into a notch, so you can't put it in wrong. Plug that in. Now you got your speedometer hooked up. So we'll tie this all up out of the way later, but that's the only connection for your speed. We obviously can't test that right now, but we'll test it once we get the bike off the lift. So now that that's done, we need to hook up our oil sensor and our coolant temperature sensor. And we'll show you how to do that, and then we'll be ready to wrap this up. So now we're going to get the coolant temperature sensor installed. First, to get started, take your coolant sensor tube, the blue thing right here. You want to thread in your sensor. You'll have 2 of them, one for the oil pressure, or I'm sorry, oil temperature, and one for the coolant temperature, so they're interchangeable. It doesn't matter which one you use. Go ahead and start threading it in. It'll be a tight fit, so you'll need to get a wrench. You'll need a 16 for the housing and a 12 for the sensor. And you want to go ahead and make sure you got that tight. I've already tightened this one up. You don't need to thread it all the way in because it'll tighten up too much, so that's good right there. Now you're going to need both of your hose clamps. And then come over here to the bike. Now, your coolant temperature sensor goes right here, in line with this hose. So what we're going to do is drain whatever coolant's in the top of the system here. We're going to pull this hose clamp right here and disconnect the hose at the radiator. We'll let it all drain down here into our pan. And then once we have everything out of the system up top, I'm going to attach this hose back on to the radiator, and then I'm going to make a cut right here. Once I cut that in half, we will put our temperature tube in line, and you'll use the hose clamps to secure it, and that's it. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. Our Coolant temperature sensor is all installed. We pulled this hose right here. You need to drain a little bit of coolant, not too much. And then put the hose on the bench. We cut it down the middle. You're going to have to trim off a little on either side to make it fit. It's a really tight junction here, but this is where Koso wants you to install it, so you're getting hot coolant. And it's after the thermostat. This is the best spot to put it. It's just real tight because it's a short hose. It's really easy if you remove the 10mm bolt right here that mounts the cap, and you can pop this up and then get the hose installed and clamped down, and then you tighten this back up and it'll keep it all in place. So it's a little bit of a tight bend because this is straight and the hose was originally curved, but with good hose clamps on it and all, it's not going to leak and it'll work just fine. So now I'm going to go ahead and install our sensor wire. There's 2 wires included in the kit. You can use either one, doesn't matter. So it's keyed, it can only go in one way. Push it in until it clicks and you know it's locked. Now we'll reroute all these when we're done to make sure everything's perfect. For now I'm just going to kind of guess and route it up here and underneath, and we'll come out through here to all our connections. Coolant temperature is the green with a white stripe and yellow wires, and they're shorter. So if you compare it to this long wire with a black sleeve over it, they have the same connector on it, but the instructions will tell you the long one is for oil temperature, short one is for coolant. So coolant I'm going to plug in right here. Again, this is keyed with a little lock. It only goes in one way and it snaps closed, so you can't put it in wrong. Just make sure that you put coolant to the shorter wire. Your oil temp is going to go to the long wire with the black sleeve on it on the Ninja kit. Okay, so that's that. Now we're going to go ahead and run the bike for a minute, get it hot, and we're going to drain the oil, and then we're going to install our okay, now that coolant's done, we need to install the last sensor, which is oil temperature. So you need to thread one of the sensors into the new oil plug, and uses a 17mm wrench on the bottom, and the sensor uses a 12. So I've already tightened this most of the way. Just make sure it's snug. It doesn't need to be all the way in. These threads will bind up. So, you know, you'll see it make a good tight fit. So make sure you tighten that up. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and going to need to drain the oil on the bike. Use an 18mm wrench on the drain plug here. I've already loosened this. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil, and then we will replace the drain plug with our new temperature sending plug. Now we drained our oil, I'm going to go ahead and install the new plug. Make sure you use the washer that Koso includes. And just going to thread it into the oil pan. Okay, now that it's screwed in, we need to use a 17mm wrench and tighten it. You don't need to go super tight, but if you've done an oil change before, you'll know the torque. So now that that's attached, I'm going to attach the cable to the sensor. It's keyed on one side, and it can only go in one way, so just line it up, push it together till it clicks, and then we'll route it up. I'm going to use zip ties in a minute here to tie it up along with the existing wires. So for the moment, I'm just going to route it up and along with other wires. Now it'll plug into the long wire with the black sleeving. It's the only connector of this style left, so you can't get it wrong. And it's keyed. So that's it. Now we have all of our sensors attached. The Koso's installed, everything's working, so I'm going to button it up, zip tie up all the wires, make sure they're all routed cleanly and out of the way, and then we'll go for a test ride. We got the fairings back on, all the sensors are installed, gauge is working fine, and that's about it. I'll flip it on, show you how it works. You can hit the select button here to change the different settings it'll show. This will show your coolant temperature right here, oil temperature there. You can change it again, show clock and fuel. You can show fuel and water temperature. So select will cycle through those settings. Adjust will cycle through the settings down here as far as your trip meters and your odometer. It's also a setting for the max speed. And then your main setting is odometer, speedometer, and clock. Now if you want to adjust settings, all you have to do is hold, select, and adjust together for about 3 seconds. You'll see ADJ on the screen to show you're in adjust mode. Now if you look over here, your tack will light up and point to what setting you're going to adjust. You can push the select button to cycle between all of the menus, and you'll see it changes. And right here on the bottom in little writing it says cylinder, cylinder select, speed unit, temp unit, max speed. And so as you select through these, you'll see the light change and the tack move to tell you which one you're selecting. Now to change your adjustment, all you do is push the adjust button. Your setting will be flashing, and that's what you're adjusting. For instance, here the meter shows max RPM, 13,000 is flashing, and the shift light is flashing. If I push the adjust button, I would change that setting. I've already got it dialed in, so I'm not going to change it. But that's how you do it. You just hit select, cycle through all your settings, hit adjust to adjust them, and that's about it. When you're done, just turn the key off. It will store all your settings, turn it back on, and it'll start up.